Hi guys, this is Andy from Walking and Cycling in Biggleswade, the Facebook group and page. I set this kind of page up really with a view to promote council consultations on all things walking and cycling, which I'm now going to sort of an attempt to show you the routes on the current consultation that Central Beds Council's got out for 4 proposed routes for sustainable transport corridors. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put some links and descriptions in the sort of description below, or the comments, depending on where you're watching. This will be on Facebook and on YouTube. And we're just going to, today we're going to do routes 1 and 2, and depending how we get on, we might do routes 3 and 4. I'm not really used to this. I don't work for the council. I don't have any affiliation with the consultants doing this work. But I'm a resident of Biggleswade, and I've worked in places and lived in places where walking and cycling improvements have done masses of good for the community. You know, just for, you know, aside from the actual physical infrastructure of improving it, there's loads of fringe benefits that you get for businesses and things like that. But I'm not really an expert on it, so I'm not going to go into it too much. So let's crack on and have a look at the route, and I will refer to the route as we go. Obviously, that's Biggleswade railway station there, and we'll take it from there. So I probably look completely mad walking and talking. I'm wearing a headcam as well, which is obviously reasonably conspicuous, and I haven't got an external mic, so I have to speak slightly louder than I would if I was talking to someone next to me, just to make sure you pick it up. So we'll see how that goes. And obviously it's after work for me, so there are quite a few people out and about. Obviously people are all, you know, coming from their own work. So this particular path is designated for walking and cycling. It does have the blue round with a pedestrian and a bike in it. Obviously at busy times, considerate cycling is, you know, definitely the way forward here. This is, you know, the sort of place where you can't do without a bell, especially if you come out of the train station and you've got a group of people walking. You know, they can be startled by cyclists and all the rest of it. So I think any urban areas consideration is key. If I sort of go quiet for a while and there's not much interest in the route, or I have to stop and consult the map, then I'll just kind of fast forward this a bit. I don't really know how long they're going to take to walk them. It's now, it was 20 past 4 when I left that station, so we'll see how long we get. And I do have a tendency to ramble, but I'll try and ramble as I walk. Now, routes 1 and 2, they start off on the same route and then merge, and this actually, this is Back Street, and they actually merge routes 1 and 2 further on, and they don't take in Back Street or that path I've just gone down. I'll have to speak up as we get a bit of traffic noise. So yeah, routes 1 and 2, they start off together and merge. But if you look on the map that's been provided by the council on their consultation website, which I will link to, so you have your chance to comment. And there's also a consultation day on the a community engagement day on the 26th of March, which I'll be attending. And I'd encourage all of you to do so as well, because there'll be some talks, and there's also looks like there'll be some guided routes around some of the infrastructure. So this is Back Street, or is it? Might be Back Lane. And I'm sure it's Back Street. Yeah. So as you can see. Yeah, Back Street. So there's your roundel there, shared surface. Although that, I don't know if that is. I think yes, it is, because this is one way. So you can see the cycle markings on the footway, like you've got there. So obviously there you're encouraged to cross on the dotted elephant's footprints, if you like. Cross the carriageway, just where that red car is now. It probably won't come out that well on here, but I'll pick that up as we look at other routes. And this isn't part of the route given in the consultation anyway. Right. So this route starts in the town centre and comes up the high street, and then it goes up the bulk. So what I'm going to do is go down to this zebra crossing and walk up there, because This is a bit of a mad junction actually. As you can see, they've done work to it. I mean, the footway's been widened here, and you know they've obviously encouraged cyclists onto the footway here as a shared space. But if you're coming up here and want to turn right into Back Street, then you've got quite a few lanes of traffic to contend with. What I tend to do is come out, if I come out sort of this way or that way, I'll go down the high street, and there's a cut through, which I mentioned in a previous post on the Facebook group, down there. So, but this zebra crossing is nice, because obviously this is, you know, it gives control back to pedestrians, so that's good. So we're gonna now head up the bulk and see. So Stratton House Hotel and Bar here, just for a landmark. If you know, I assume most of you know Biggleswade. I'm still learning. I only moved at the end of last year here. That's the Red Lion pub. That's not been open since I've lived here. Various bits and bobs. Right. So I'm gonna chance it across, because it is a pedestrians right away, crossing a side road to make that crossing, believe it or not. So right, so we're on the bulk, and this basically forms the bulk of Route 1 and Route 2, and it splits as we get down to the end, but I'll talk you through that as we go. I'm getting a few funny looks now, and I walk quite quickly. I used to live in London. I still haven't lost that that London stride, I suppose, where you if you don't walk fast you get trampled, but thankfully it's a much nicer pace of life in Biggleswade, although it's still a really nice urban centre with some fantastic shops and bars and everything you need really. I really love the place, and I'm thrilled to have moved here. So as you can see, this is one way, the bulk. You can see that sign there, you've got shows you that you've got cyclists coming the other way. They've got the markings on the road with the arrows. Footways for Biggleswade, these are probably reasonably average width. A fair bit of carriageway space. These sort of bays are they're marked bays. They're actually, I think they might be slightly on the wide side. I could be wrong on that, but they look like you could shave 6 inches off there. And when you're trying to do, you know, when they're looking at highway design, I'd hope they want to maximise every space. Now I'm walking a bit faster than these people walking their dogs, so I'm going to cross over. We might get just a slightly different perspective anyway. Obviously this is a slightly newer development. Double yellows here, so you get a much more clear visibility. And as a cyclist coming against, you know, contraflow, against the flow of the one way for vehicle traffic, you've got a lot more space. Where if you've obviously got double parks, then you've got to have a bit of give and take. And of course, obviously if you're cycling, you'd want to keep out of the door zones as well. I've only been doored once, and it was by a child in the back of a car, and I wasn't going very fast. I'd actually been to the shops, and I had a pannier full of beer and just cans, and yeah, I got doored and sent my box of punk IPA skidding across Barking Road in East London. So there you go. I've got so it'd be interesting, because we've got no detailed designs of what you know, what the council might plan to do. I don't even think the funding's fully committed, or whatever the word is, you know, allocated, because I guess it's going to be based on this consultation. So I've kind of taken it upon myself to get the word out there, because I just think, you know, you can't turn your nose up at this kind of potential for improvements. So I'm crossing back over the road again, just because I know, looking at the map, so we're coming up to Drove Road. So this was the bulk, and we're coming up to Drove Road. There's a nice bit of cycle infrastructure here that's relatively new. Don't know when it went in, but it's before my time, and that's just to help people get into the junction when you've got obviously a one-way. You've got loads of space here. I mean, this is you've got loads of space there. You could really do a lot more here. That obviously is a bit of dead space there. Even if you didn't want to sort of use it for other things, you know, that'd be ideal for sort of like a planting, and just putting planting and things at junction residential areas just makes people hopefully take a bit more care. You've got loads of carriageway width here. I mean, this is such a sweeping radius. If you were approaching by car here, if you so chose, you could take that bend quite quickly, you know, potentially if you were a risk taker, not looking if anything was coming. And so yeah, and so I think, you know, potentially you could tighten that radius up, and it just makes cars less able to take that bend quickly. And I'm no highway designer. I did a little bit when I was younger. I do work for a local authority, but I work for a London one. And so I work in parking now, so I don't do anything around this, but when I did see the benefits to it massively. And we've got lots of space here on this footway. This is, yeah, I mean, space is key, and if you can use enough space to separate your pedestrians, cyclists and motorists, then that's the best of all worlds. Right, so this is Drove Road for anyone that doesn't know. I've crossed over and I'm now walking, and we're going to turn right into, I've forgotten the name of the road, Hitcham, I think it is. Are there any road name plates? Oh, there's one. Oh, Hitchmead, that was it, Hitchmead Road. So this is a much quieter residential street. I don't know if it's a classified road. I think the bulk is an A road, and I think Drove Road is a B road, but I could stand to be corrected on that. So obviously lots of things to consider walking and cycling here. You've got lots of driveways, lots of off-street parking, which is great because it keeps cars out of the carriageway, but obviously, you know, can pose other potential hazards, what with vehicles entering and exiting their properties across the footway. So yeah, they're well provisioned. There's plenty of off-street parking in a lot of Biggleswade. Quite a lot of off-street parking. So this is interesting. So coming up to Orchard Close, we've got no footway on this side, so you don't have the option there. So that's space to be dealt with. Whether you want to get rid of the verge, it's another matter. Orchard Close. These are relatively new. This paving, and this, you can see these are newish curbstones, and I would imagine they were probably done with this because this has all been recently resurfaced. You can see this is quite a new surface. So we're still in Hitchmead Road, and we're still on routes 1 and 2. 1 and 2 have not split off yet. The detail of where they split off is a little bit vague. I had a quick look on Google Street View before I come up here, and the maps they've given, they don't really give you details of what road, you know, what little tracks you take, or where you branch off the main roads. It's kind of more it's very early consultation, obviously very early doors, just to kind of get people's views. But they just give you a sort of the kind of like the permeating lines through Biggleswade, and the routes basically take you from the station and the town centre through to access what they're consulting on the garden village, and obviously what they call Newtown with the new development on the other side of Baden Powell Way. And it would be handy as well if you get up to London Road and you can access the A1 retail park, which is, you know, handy. So here, it's another side road, something to be mindful of. This one's not too bad. Some double yellow lines wouldn't go amiss on the junctions there, regardless of any of the scheme. You might be able to tighten up the radius a bit, make it slightly tighter to give you a shorter. So when I say tighten up the radius, just basically make you don't lose any width of the carriageway, but you just lose this sort of dead space here, which gives cars an arc to sweep out of, and the same there. So that, I don't know. I mean, I'm no designer, so that might not be feasible. This might be narrow enough because it's not a very wide road, but obviously the more you do it, the less distance of carriageway at the wider bit the pedestrian has to walk across. Now I must sort of admit that these routes don't really take in any of the bits where I live in Biggleswade. I live up in Winston Crescent, which is an estate just off the Potham Road, and it's kind of to the northeast of the centre of Biggleswade, and so yeah, it doesn't really take that into consideration. But I mean, hopefully this is the start, and there'll be more stuff to come, and because there's definitely room for improvement getting from Winston Crescent to the town centre, and especially if you want to access the leisure, or not leisure, amenity land I suppose you'd call it, at Biggleswade Common and all of that sort of thing. So this is where the route splits at the top here, almost anyway. So this is still Hitchmead Street, obviously dead verge there. Don't know where the highway boundary stops. There might be consideration to be taken there, but I mean there's space. We've got also, what's intriguing is we've got lots of off-street parking. Well, I say intriguing, but still quite a few cars parked on the carriageway. So it does, I think multi-car households are quite a thing in Biggleswade. These are all just parked up on the verge here. This doesn't seem very good at all. And I mean, look at this. This is all completely knackered, and that's done purely by cars. I mean, that curb was probably originally 125mm curb face higher than the carriageway, but that's been crushed. I don't think this was all put in as a drop, because people wouldn't be encouraged to cross the verge, but it's knackered it. And of course all that verge there is getting completely knackered. All the curbstones are getting knackered. I mean, if people want to, if that's a suitable place for parking that the council designates, then it should be constructed as such, not just a free-for-all, to be honest. And you've got obviously telegraph pole. Looks, that wire's sagging there, the support wire looks like it might have been clipped by something. So it's people taking vehicles where they're not necessarily supposed to go, or it's not been designed properly for. You could get damage to other infrastructure, because obviously verges are really useful places to put services. BT telegraph pole, BT service box there, and so you don't know, and you've got boxes all over the verge there, so it's all water by the looks of it. Anyway, that's not really part of this, but I would hope that any future designs kind of future-proof the highway. West Sunderland Farm. That's yeah, that looks like a sort of a, what have we got there? Ivor Valley Running Trail, it says there. So that's obviously some money spent at some point, probably some years ago. That's just been knocked down at some stage. It's got a dog foul. I'm not even sure if this would have been where it is, or if it's been knocked down elsewhere and dumped there out of the carriageway. Anyway, so this is Ivor Valley School. Now, if you look on the map, when you get to the top here, it splits. This is roughly where the route splits, and it kind of takes you, sort of the permeating line goes through the school. Now, I know a little bit up this way, sort of just on my little ramblings and wanderings on my bike or by foot. This is good. I haven't seen these for a while. So these here, you don't see these very much anymore. This is, I believe these were put in to stop mopeds, but to allow people to lift their bike over. I think there might be more suitable ways of doing it, that it doesn't involve you having to lift your bike, especially if you're, because you don't have to be fit as a fiddle, and you don't have to be a young fit man in lycra to ride a bike. I'm overweight and not very fit, but I do cycle and walk everywhere, which helps. But that's the idea of that. So obviously this is quite wide, quite nice. You could definitely make this a shared surface. So I'm just going to consult the plan. Right, so yeah, so I'm on. So yeah, it's not that clear where it splits. It might actually, if this might sort of all be Hitchmead Road, or not. Sometimes these alleys obviously named. And then we're now coming into the new bit, and I don't know this bit of Biggleswade at all, because I've spent time in Biggleswade before I moved here, as I'm a member of the fishing club, and I used to come up here fishing. And before I moved, when I first moved out of London, and before I moved here, I was back in Stevenage, where I crashed at my parents' house. Not that you really need to know that, but there you go. So there you go, look at these. These are So these are big old drums, very big detached houses, which does sort of make me wonder what this new estate's like for housing stock. And I'd hate to think that these routes are sort of just helping people in the nice big houses get to the station to commute to their top jobs in London. I think whatever transport improvements are made should definitely be sort of equitable for everyone. Now, yeah, so this is right, so let's have a look. Right, so the routes get a bit sketchy here, and I'm not sure if the base map that these were done on is the latest. This is obviously brand new. Looks like some sort of, looks a bit shared surfacey, doesn't it? I'm going to attempt route 1, which kind of goes this way. So I'm going to cut down and I'm going to try and permeate through, and we'll see how we get on. If I abandon it, what I'll do is you'll just see the footage stop, I expect, and then I'll come back, start again there, and we'll have a look at route 2. This is quite nice. It seems to be done quite sympathetically. Everyone's got a bit of front garden. I imagine they've got some sort of outside space. Looks like there is off-street parking or something at the back, but again, lots of cars on the carriageway, and this has not been designed for parking on the carriageway. This is very, very narrow. I don't know if it's a close or a through route or anything really. They are getting better, these new designs. I grew up in Stevenage, and some of the stuff they put up in the late 80s and 90s was sort of there or thereabouts, but they just made the road so unbelievably small, with absolutely no option for off-street parking, that they became just seas of cars with houses in amongst them. This is that new playing field. I don't know if the council maintain this one. There's some, I think this is the one, a sign went up and said for residents only or something, like residents of the estate, the new estate, which I think soon got taken down. But that's always the challenge, is managing that. Oh no, I'm not gonna mourned away play area. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into that. But yeah, obviously managing an established settlement like Biggleswade with lots of new housing. We've got loads of new housing here. I mean, they're quite attractive, aren't they? They're not all the same. They've done a good job on this. I actually, well, in my opinion, obviously architecture is very, very subjective, but I think the fact that you've got lots of different ones, although these must be worth an absolute fortune. They are big houses, and yeah, and Biggleswade's bang on the A1 obviously, and railway lines into London. You get into London in 35 minutes, and I do work for a London borough, so have to go in every so often, but I'm very lucky to be able to work from home for most of the time, which enables me to get out while it's still light in the spring and do things like this. So we're still permeating through. I'm pretty sure this is the kind of the intended route for route 1. Now they mention, I don't want to sort of go too much into what the consultation says, but because I don't want to get it wrong, but they do mention driverless buses, which is intriguing. So I shall be going to the public event and asking them about them, because it'd be interesting to see a driverless bus coming down here. Now this is odd. We've got no footway at all. So I mean, this is well, bizarre to say the least. So it's either walk in the verge and knacker them up, or walk in the carriageway. This is, yeah, I don't know if this is sort of designed as a space for everyone to walk down, or if this is a carriageway, because everyone's got off-street parking, but obviously you've got enough gap in between the properties to put a car, which people clearly do, not everywhere, but they do nonetheless. But yeah, this was not designed for pedestrians. This was designed for people to drive their car to their house, get out of it, and go in their front door, which I think that's sad. That makes me really sad, actually, unless I'm missing something and this is for everyone to walk on. But it doesn't feel like it. With 125mm curb faces, I feel like I'm in the carriageway. It doesn't feel right, and I don't feel like this is my space. I don't feel this is for pedestrians. And then we've got a bit of footway here. Maybe these aren't public highways, so they have a bit more leeway. So we've got no drop curb, so you've got to walk up and round if you can't manage to get your mobility scooter or whatever down here. And then of course you've got a car blocking it. So this is I feel like I'm starting to moan now, but yeah, this is not sympathetic. So you're back in the carriageway to get back up onto the footway, and this feels a bit more shared because you've got no, yeah, I'm not sure what they've done here. Well, I don't know why these curbs are all dropped. Yeah, it feels incoherent to me. Like, I'm no expert, I'm no architect, I'm no urban designer, but this, oh right, perhaps this was all dropped with a view to maybe having more garages along there, because obviously we've got garages along here, storage and stuff there. Nice size. Everyone's got plenty of parking. There's loads of parking here actually, to be honest. Really, if you look at all that space there, I don't know if they'll all be designated, but yeah. Maunder Avenue this is, for those that want to know. I'm totally lost now, and the map, because these streets go down to very small roads, doesn't really give you too much. Oh right, oh we're here. So this is where the little shopping bit is. So this is obviously pedestrian-y. So you've got your tactile there for people who can't see properly, and then you can feel that's for crossing. If you ever, some people might not know what that's for, but there you go. So this is quite cute. This is quite nice. I didn't even know this existed as I knew there was a Sainsbury's local up here, but that was as much as it was. So yeah, quite a nice little cafe type thing there. This is quite sort of nice. Bit of seating. I'm not sure what that yellow thing is there. I've got to go and have a look at that. It looks like the nose cone from some sort of. Wait, it is the nose cone from. No, it's. Right. What have we? Oh, well, right, there we go. Frank Russell's story is a story of joy, wit and laughter, a very British story of creating something fun for its own sake, a tale of human spirit, of human heart. In 2018, Project FAR launched a flight into low orbit to document King's Reach using methods inspired by Frank A. Russell. So I guess that's some sort of spacecraft that was launched to look at the new estate of King's Reach from space. That's different. Bus stops. So this is really the first infrastructure for public transport I've noticed. Now there probably were bus stops, but they were probably just posts with signs on, although I must admit I've not been looking too much at the road markings because I don't know what it's going to look like. Cycle parking there, you can see those little things there. I can't remember the focal distance on this headcam, so if you can't see it, apologies, but you can obviously have a look on Street View or come out and have a look yourself. So this is it's a big old new development. I've never really walked that much in it, so I don't know if they've named this square. Yeah, because I suppose if you lived near the town centre, you'd have very little reason to come out here. There is a Faraway Pizza. Oh, actually, I think I had a takeaway from them. They were very good, actually, that pizzas. And a Percy's Traditional Fish and Chips. I've seen their social media stuff. And the Crafty Place as well, I've seen that on social media. Estate agent, obviously. So, yeah, more sort of space. Nursery there, so we're kind of getting out into the edge of it all now. Parking here, I presume this is for where you've got pay and display, so that's obviously to help people visit the shops and that. That's a lot of parking for a few shops, isn't it? No return. Max stay 2 hours, no return within 2 hours. That's shoppers parking, really. I think you'd be hard pushed to want to spend that much time in that square. Maybe a couple of hours, perhaps. So we're getting right to the edge of town now, and we'll take it up to Baden-Powell Way, and then I'll go back and have a look at Route 2. So here seems a bit more like it knows what it's doing in terms of keeping a footway and a carriageway, which isn't necessary, like here. So there you go. This is a prime example of what you can achieve. Whether it's people who like it or not, it's probably a bit subjective. But here is 100% a shared surface. You've got delineation there. You've got some sort of bollards there, which seems slightly strange. Not sure why they're there. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, obviously you've got some sort of what you might call a footway. It's all one level, and it all sort of drains in. So it's kind of the opposite of a camber. It sort of all goes in. You've got the drainage down the middle there. This slightly different coloured block work to delineate a footway. But here, you know, you definitely feel that cars aren't the dominant factor in this surface. This feels like a bit more like it could be for anyone. And you'd probably expect maybe more considerate or cautious driving from people in this. I am actually a non-driver, so although he's coming up on the taking the edge there, I felt that was quite an aggressive stance, but maybe it's just me. Cut that bit out. Right, plenty of cars. Rainbow Preschool. That's not just a preschool, St Andrew's School. There you go. Right, so crossed over there, and we're back onto a footway. I mean, I wouldn't have any issue cycling on this. It doesn't feel like it should only be for pedestrians or anything like that. So if you wanted to cut through, I mean, all in all, that's not a bad little quiet route. I mean, yeah, there's some funny bits going on, but it was quieter. It wasn't on the main roads. You know, you could do loads of improvements there for pedestrians and cyclists. Just taking some of that dominance from cars away, especially the areas where there doesn't appear to be anything for pedestrians. That's quite a strange situation, but I don't know what the rules are around here with what's public highway and what's private, because quite often the smaller bits of these estates aren't adopted by the council. Well, that's in my experience anyway. Maybe they are here, don't know, but more of this sort of all level shared surfacing, which is, yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's you know, this is a quiet residential area. You're not getting through traffic, so you can probably have a bit more leeway. You can hear we're coming up to a faster road now. You can hear the faster traffic, and this is Baden Powell Way. Now on the map there was all sort of ponds, I noticed, and I've not been up here before. I live totally the other side of town. So, right. So what I'm going to do, I'll cross over, because then it's sort of, then the kind of idea of the route is, so that side over there is where the proposed potential garden village will be, more houses, and then you've got loads. Well, then if you go further round off the Potton Road, you've got another 500, which I think planning is more or less granted for there. Well, at least you haven't got a dice with death crossing over here. You've got a nice signalised crossing. That was nice and quick. Press the button, straight to amber, straight to red. Let's go. I'm going a little bit early, but they were slowing down for me. So yeah, lots of, so obviously this is your, I'm thinking that's a lot of space there, but this is obviously for horses. So you've got, do you know what? I've never seen one of these in the flesh. This is a proper townie talking, isn't it? So there you go. The height of that is so you can press your button when you're on top of your horse. And I've never actually come across one of those or noticed it before. We certainly don't put them in where I work. So yeah, there we go. And then this is, so this is what I could see of the sort of watery areas. I wonder if there'd be sort of ponds. I'm a keen fisherman, but this just looks like what you might call the old sustainable urban drainage, and this is probably balancing ponds. Oh, there's a bit of water there. Balancing ponds for the road surfaces, and then of course you can access the rest of Biggleswade countryside, well, the Bedfordshire countryside beyond. So that, I think, was Route 1. Not 100% clear on the map, but I think that was where it was, and it makes sense to bring you out to this crossing where you've got I don't know what you even call a crossing for horses. Bridal crossing. That's probably a crossing for brides. Anyway, we'll leave it there then, and I'll now go back and do route 2. Right, I'm sure after a seamless edit we are back where I split off to go on route 1, and I can beginning to see now. I've sort of looked out and come up from Baden-Powell Way. I can see the thinking behind the 2 routes, I think. So obviously that route 1 took in the square, and that's why it probably took us down some quite small residential roads that just weren't yet suitable for walking and cycling. But of course this is an improvement, and I'm commenting on what it's like now. I mean, I don't know what the detail of these plans might be. I don't know what the designers are thinking. I've been a long time out of this sort of game, where the advances in the sort of thinking behind improvements for walking and cycling are, they come on leaps and bounds, especially with all the initiatives going around all around the country. This is by no means isolated. This is, any reasonable size urban area, you're going to get local authorities attempting to improve walking and cycling, because car ownership will inevitably dwindle as well, I mean, things with fuel price and that, but as I think autonomous vehicles are coming, and there are fleets that are operating not a million miles from here. There's one in Bedfordshire, in Milton Keynes, I should say, in Buckinghamshire, operating to help, or to ferry the MK Dons players from their accommodation to the ground. Or there was a trial to do it. Whether it's still running, I don't know. But obviously this is already a walking route. We've cut through. This is obviously got a children's play area, lots of space, lots of greenery. Random car left on the greenery. He's obviously bought a house without a drive and wishes he hadn't. Yeah, so, but this is nice wide footway. You could easily, if you're cycling considerately, walking considerately as well. Let's face it, if you've got dogs and things on one of those leads, you don't want them running around and tangling people. So I think, in any urban area where you've got movement of people, especially people at different sort of speeds and all the rest of it, then consideration is key. And that seemed to be. I went to the Biggleswade Town Council meeting. They did a presentation about this last week, and safety was a big concern. And there is definitely some concern from some of the councillors about speeding cyclists. Now, it's not something I've encountered, to be honest. You get the odd pillock on a bike, but they're like probably a kid that's not, in my experience anyway, but I don't know. I mean, and of course I don't want to speak for other people's experience, because obviously there's been some real tragedies with cycling accidents, especially in London in recent years. Been fatalities and things, and there was actually one in Stevenage not so long ago. In Stevenage, obviously the cycling infrastructure was inbuilt when the town was. It's a new town, and that all those cycle lanes and underpasses were put in specifically for it. And I mean, I might say that there's not missed opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent there. You've been able to see what this is like. This is not the same as Route 1, where we were in much narrower streets with no area for pedestrians, and the houses were much closer together and things like that. Here we've got obviously is that a designated parking bay? Yes, yeah, and obviously this is just a footway. Footway, shared surface. I haven't seen any signs, but there was that father and daughter, I guess, just cycling there, which is great to see, just enjoying it. So obviously we're coming out onto Baden-Powell Way. This is a much more direct route. So yeah, I think basically, I don't know if I trailed off a bit, but obviously I think Route 1 wanted to take in that square, because I think that square could be a real destination, to be honest. If they've got the right mix of businesses in there, people will sort of, travel, walk and cycle to that cafe if there's bars there, or this isn't as urban as London, but if you want to look at examples of that sort of success, you can have a look at phones going how unprofessional. You can have a look at Orford Road in Walthamstow and Francis Road in Leighton, both of which were really massive improvements for walking and cycling that really benefited the businesses. And Francis Road was effectively pedestrianised, and so was Orford Road. But the key thing with Francis Road is it was a B road, and so it was a classified road that was pedestrianised. So you've got to, you know, I'd urge any councillors that are watching this to be a bit brave, think outside the box, because you don't want Biggleswade to be on the wrong side of history. Walking and cycling is you know, must become a mass mode of transport, and you won't do it without some inconvenience to the motorist, and I think that can't be forethought in people's minds. Yeah, sorry, I meant to point this out. I went off on a evangelical talk. I guess these are children's representations of the archaeological finds when they built the estate. There's no plaque or anything for this, but that's what I imagine it is. But it's really cool nonetheless, and it's, yeah, really unusual. There's some real little gems, I must say, in there. I mean, this is nice. This is, you know, yeah, it's not maintained like Kensington Gardens, but it's the plants are alive. Yeah, so anyway, I've kind of stopped because that's Baden-Powell Way. That's a route there. You've got all this green space, and so that's obviously the thinking. There isn't. I don't think there's any public footpaths here. It does look like there is a point to cross up there, but you'd probably go up to the crossing there. So I think this is kind of really where Route 2 stops, at least from the Biggleswade point of view. Although there's nothing to say that the other side of Baden-Powell Way won't become housing at some point. I mean, you know, that you can say what you like about that we do need more housing, you know, as a country. I think Biggleswade's got some brownfield sites, believe it or not. I know it's a relatively small settlement, but there are definitely some brownfield sites that could be housing, especially in the town, in and around the town centre. And you don't have to, and you could have a bit more densely packed, not, you know, more dense housing in urban areas, in the town centres, because you're nearer the rail, and you can sort of command a slightly higher price and things like that. And I know that shouldn't be the forethought of urban design, but at the end of the day, the developers that make money, and it's the developers' money that funds these sort of schemes. So hopefully that was reasonably coherent. If you don't like my voice, or you don't like what I've been talking about, then that's absolutely fine. I don't blame you. I get sick of the sound of my own voice. Then just feel free to mute it, and you can just watch the routes. Obviously, I'm telling you this at the end of the video. You've already watched it and think, God, I'm sick of him. But on routes 3 and 4, we'll take a look.